Good day, good afternoon, good evening, good night, everyone. Welcome to Black Man Speak. I'm your co-host, VJR Stewart.
And I'm your co-host, TD3. It is Wednesday night, May the 6th, 2026. And if it's Wednesday night,
It's certainly Black Man Speak. So if you haven't already, please hit the like button, hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when new shows are uploaded to the internet, which is 9 p.m. Central Time. And if you are here watching the show live, invite a friend, family member, a neighbor, co-worker, or a friend of me so you guys have something interesting to talk about for the rest of the week. With that being said, Tom, we're going to give a shout out to Count Basie for providing our theme music, which may change next week. Miami
oh,
Entertaining giving us a new theme, working with the production team. And what else? I think that's pretty much it. So with that being said, let's do what we do best, Tommy, which is bring information about what's going on in the world to social media.
all right, good deal. We're going to start off the show as we always do when it is appropriate. And that is taking a moment of silence to honor those who we have lost. For those who are in the South, for those who may listen to or love Zydeco, there's an iconic figure in Louisiana who we have lost. His name is Lee Allen Zeno. He was a highly respected musician in Louisiana and a icon within the Zydeco community. We just lost him this past week to Zydeco. Jimmy, I know with the time that you spent in Louisiana, you probably have an affinity towards Zydeco. So
I
we're gonna.
have heard some of his music when I was in Lake Charles and Opelousas, hanging out during my school summer breaks. And wow, I didn't know he's passed away, boy. It's just,
Yeah,
it goes to show.
he was battling with cancer and I believe leukemia as well. But we'll take a moment of silence to honor
Okay.
this within the music world. So what you said you've actually had a chance to listen to some of his music live, Jimmy. What are
Oh,
your
not live, but
oh,
yeah, my uncle's wife was from Lake Charles, and but sometimes we would go visit, and then when I was in college, I had the opportunity to go visit a couple of female friends who were from that Lake Charles, Patterson, New Iberia area, man, Morgan City, and yeah, his music was. I heard that. I remember the name, but yeah, they play him on the radio. He was quite popular.
all right, well, that is a grave loss. He was, I think, probably one of the old school
Old school,
musicians who
yes.
was responsible for carrying the torch and the legacy of Zydeco music, which of course is very popular. So again, our condolences to the family, those within the musical genre, and those who he impacted in one way or another, Jimmy. And we will move forward from there. We're gonna flip it a little bit. We've got a lot on our agenda this evening, but what we'll do is we'll take a few minutes, not a whole lot, as opposed to ending with sports, Jimmy. Why don't we start with sports, and we'll take just a couple of minutes to kind of talk about where we are in the playoff bracket, and then we can get to our more serious stories. So, folks, of course, we made our picks, Jimmy, and I think I was about 6 out of 8, if I recall.
Yeah, my picks are horrible, Tom. I don't even want to talk about my record. Let me ask you this, Tom.
Now, wait a minute, Jimmy. Whatever that 99% correct. Not
Yeah, yeah, that's on opinions and factual information. But on these when things out of my hand like a sports team, yeah, it's kind of hard to be 99% accurate in this particular case. But let me ask you, Tom, who would you say was the biggest choke of the first round of the playoffs?
the biggest choke in terms of team.
Yes,
You know,
expectation.
it would seem to be kind of difficult to say that because they went against the number one team. But when you are when you are up 3-1 in a series like Orlando was on the Detroit Pistons, and you have the opportunity to knock out the number one team, and I mean, I watched Orlando play, and they got a very young, very talented team.
They
And
do.
I mean, I didn't know much about Orlando because I don't really watch the NBA until the playoffs. But man, if that wasn't a choke job, I don't know what was. Of course, they just ended up firing their coach a couple of days ago as a result of this. So I can't say that whether it was coaching or whether it was just abject failure on the court for lack of execution.
Well, and you notice, Tom, they're led by another one of those Duke players, man. So that's not a bad place to go recruit. You want to build a basketball team, but I would say my choke team would be Boston.
You know, I saw the end of the game, the Boston Philadelphia 76ers game, and I was like, are they just giving this game away? Because it wasn't as if they blew a 20 or 30 point lead, but at the same time, they had every chance and every opportunity to win that game, and they couldn't buy a shot. And on top of that, I guess what frustrated me about that, even though uh, I guess they're well, really, arguably one of their best, if not the best player on the team, was sitting on the sideline in street clothes. They still had a lot of chances to win, and they kept shooting all of these 3 points. And I know Boston,
Yeah, they used to be a good 3 point shooting team.
and they were shooting all of these 3 point shots and missing all of them. I'm like, what is it about go to the hole that you not understanding?
And Tom, where was that team when the Mavericks played them in the championship a few years ago? Man, we'd be world champions with another ring at that point if we had faced that team when we had placed that team when we played them in the championship. Yeah, the Mavs would have had another championship banner hanging up in the stadium. The
Got you.
team we met a couple of years ago couldn't miss, and this
True.
team couldn't make a basket. So
I would agree with that. Yeah, I'm going to stick with Orlando. I mean, even though they are not a playoff experienced team, I mean, when you've got a 3-1 lead, you got to keep your foot on their neck. And they just, even if they're playing the number one team in the Eastern Conference, you got to get that done. And yeah, Boston. I don't know what happened with Boston, but I saw the end of that game, and I just could not understand why they were shooting all these points. They weren't playing fundamental basketball. They didn't have anybody in the paint, and they were just shooting threes. And they were within what 2 or 3 shots of winning the game, and they just blew it.
yeah. Hey, what about what's your opinion on Denver?
In what context?
Well, I mean, Minnesota was down two starters, and I mean, you go out there with and McDaniel's is talking a lot of smack, about how soft you are on offense and defense, um, and not only is he talking smack, Tom, not only did he talk the talk, but when he got on the court, he walked the walk. Um,
My
yeah, I mean,
opinion,
he
my opinion on that Denver, on that Denver Minnesota series.
Minnesota.
When I started looking at the Timberwolves and what they had on the court, they had more depth than Denver. Is my opinion. They had more depth.
And Tom, they got some ballers. I mean, that McDaniel kid just came out of nowhere, and really, he has potential to sort of be a 1A, a 1B to Ant Man's 1A.
Exactly. Exactly.
I mean, so when Ant Man went down for the last two games, for him to step up his play and pretty much carry the team on his back, I mean, that says a lot when you have that kind of player that you didn't plan on. Now, this wasn't expected. Yeah, he just stepped his game up, but he stepped it up in a really big way.
I would agree with you on that, Jimmy. I was quite surprised, and it was hard for me to bet against the Joker, Nikola Jokic. But when I looked at the court, I was like, if it's not the Joker and it's not Jamal, both of them playing just wasn't good enough
It
for
wasn't good enough,
Minnesota,
Tom.
even with Ant Man out.
Yeah, two starters out. I don't know the other guy who was out, but they had two starters out, and you have your full complement of players, and it still wasn't good enough.
Yeah,
So they just took it to Denver, and I picked Denver. So one of my disappointments.
and on
Um,
top of that, Jimmy, Denver just fired their head coach a couple of years ago to get this new guy in.
yeah, right. So that's why
So
I'm opposed, Tom, to all this when folks start talking about blowing teams up and firing coaches, like, hold on, if you're in the playoffs, at least you're there. You can't you can't compete for a championship if you don't get to the playoffs. And if a coach takes you to the playoff, unless you really feel another coach is going to get you past that because he's hit a stumbling block and he just can't get past the first round or the second round, then you pull the trigger. But all these teams, Phoenix is talking about blowing their team up. Denver, whether they're going to trade Jokic away and blow their team up. All these blow ups, it's hard to build a championship team. And once you get a team that can compete for a championship, you can hold on to it and just add pieces to it. Don't blow it up.
Gotcha. So let's kind of look at what it looks like now in round two. We've kind of talked about what I think I definitely picked OKC to get out of that bracket. I picked the Lakers to get out of that bracket. I think you may have stuck with the Rockets. I picked Denver, but I was hoping Minnesota would come out. So actually it worked out for me there. San Antonio beat Portland. That was my pick. I don't know how Detroit got out from Orlando, but they won. I picked Cleveland over Toronto, Knicks over the Hawks, and then I picked Boston over the 76ers, and I think Boston gave that game away. So I was 6 out of 8. Really, I was kind of 7 out of 8, hoping that Minnesota would get out. But now we go to the next round. We got
I think I was 4 out of 8 on this one, so I didn't do too bad.
Gotcha. So if we look at the next round in round two, we got OKC and the LA Lakers. We've got Minnesota, San Antonio, Detroit, and Cleveland, Knicks, and 76ers. So what do you say? What do you have to say about that?
I'm in another pool, and I have Oklahoma,
Gotcha.
the Spurs, and the Knicks, and then I picked Cleveland, I believe.
Gotcha.
Um,
I'm picking OKC. I don't, the Lakers they don't have the depth that
they
OKC
don't.
has. I'm picking in the Minnesota San Antonio series. I'm picking San Antonio out of that one as well. Detroit and Cleveland. I am going with Detroit, and I'm going to pick the Knicks over the 76ers because this is to spite the Dallas Mavericks for getting rid of Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, that's proven to be a very, very, very bad pick because that dude is the backbone of that New York team, man, for years since we gotten rid of him. And just imagine if he was still with Dallas. But anyway, we don't want to cry with spoiled grapes. Tom, San Antonio, Fox and Castle and the coach just absolutely blew that game. How in the world you have the most dominant player in basketball? And Tom, up until 1 minute left in the game, he only had 9 points. 9 points for a guy that's almost unstoppable.
I don't understand what happened, Jimmy. Quite frankly, I don't. Usually, I don't even watch the first game, so I didn't see the first game. I was surprised that Minnesota actually won, considering I think Anthony Edwards did play in that game. But I'm thinking, what happened?
Well, what happened was the two guards, Fox and Castle, really didn't want to pass the ball to Wembley. I mean, they'll try to do it themselves. And I know that Castle had a problem with Wembley when he first came to the team, and he was a horrible setup man. I mean, you're a point guard, so you're supposed to set players up, and you have one of the most. I mean, the guy cannot be stopped. He's 7'4". I mean, who's going to stop him down there, down low? Nobody's stopped him so far, and you have such a dominant player in time. Up until 1 minute left in the game, he only had 9 points. They came down court and they did a high pick and roll, gave him the ball. He drove to the basket, two-hand dunk. They got the game within 2 points, and then it was pretty much all over after that. Never touched the ball again. One of the guards took the last shot of the game, tried to win it themselves. So the coach and the 2 point guards, two guards need to go, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I say there's probably a coaching issue. I'm not saying that the guards are going to go. I don't, one thing that we can say in basketball is they have guaranteed contracts. I don't know as much about the San Antonio Spurs, so I don't know how easy it would be to offload them, but it sounds like what's been happening to Wembley the last couple of years, where they were kind of hiding the ball from them for whatever reason, when they
Really.
were a much better team a lot sooner than they were this year. So they finally.
Telling they should run their whole offense through him like Denver does with Jokic. There's I don't think there are too many trips down the court where he goes down either high post or low post. He doesn't touch the ball. He may not take the final shot, but I mean, he's touching the ball at least 75% of the time. Wembley should touch the ball at least half the time, and then they should run that offense through him. I mean, he can dish out. If he gets double teamed, he's tall enough to dish out, make the good pass, draw the coverage. But yet the guards want to run the show there, and the coach should have called timeout several times, cursed a few people out, and told them what the game plan is. So as far as I'm concerned, they're all three equally culpable in that loss. So I hope they get it together before Minnesota advance to the conference championship and they sitting at home watching the game because I have them picked.
For those of you who are basketball players, you already know this, but even if you're not a basketball player, if you look at all the great centers, and technically is he a center or a forward, Jimmy Wimmer?
They have him listed as a power forward, but he's really the center there.
Right. If you look at all the great centers, and I'm comparing him to a center because he has that type of height, he doesn't have that type of strength. He doesn't
No,
have
he
that
doesn't.
physical size. But if you look at the great forwards and or centers, and I say centers because of his height, he is as complete a package as I've seen.
Tom, to be 7'4" and be able to dribble the ball like a guard, to be able to shoot the three like a shooting guard. He can post up. He has a nice jump shot and play down low with his back to the goal. Yeah, this guy's probably the most complete player in basketball now, and they seem to not struggle to figure out how to use him. So if San Antonio don't want to get right, he needs a.
Coach.
They need to go and trade him to the Mavericks, man. Let us have him. I guarantee you, we'd win back-to-back championships. Hadn't been done since Chicago if we had Wembley on our team with Flag and another high draft pick coming up, and Kyrie coming back.
When is Kyrie coming back, by the way?
He'll be back this preseason. They didn't want to rush him back for a losing season, so he's going to take the rest. He took the rest of the season to heal up, but he'll be back this year.
Hopefully he can stay healthy.
Hopefully he can stay healthy. But, at that age, man, basketball, it doesn't seem like it's a rough sport, but you're playing 82 games and it's kind of physical. It catches up with you. So,
Yeah, and with you hopping all over the place, Jimmy, we've seen guys in basketball with non-contact injuries that take them out for the season.
can you say the name Luca?
Yeah,
The Mavericks management had warned him for years to take his conditioning more serious. Shit. Hopefully, maybe there in LA, he can get with LeBron and get right. But every year, coming out of shape, overweight, and trying to play your way through it, they told him that over time those injuries are going to start catching up with him. It's going to shorten his career. He didn't listen. He continued to come out of shape. He doesn't play defense, so I don't know why it's so difficult for you to keep your playing weight. And what happened? He's just standing there, non-contact. He get ready to make a move, and bam, you tore your hamstring. Just it was like what? You didn't stretch before the game, and what's going on that that you're gonna injure your body, and nobody's even around you. I mean, before you even make a move, you didn't get knocked to the ground. You wasn't running after someone and all of a sudden pulled up lane. You're just standing there, get ready to make a move.
and Jimmy, in comparison to LeBron James, who is what, 41, 42,
41 going on 42 this next birthday. Yeah.
41, 42 years old, arguably one of the most durable, if not the most durable player in the NBA, especially considering his age. Yes, he's had some injuries, but when you look at the seriousness that he takes his game, his health, and what he invests in himself for longevity compared to Luka, there is something that Luka can learn from him. Hopefully he will learn from
A
him.
lot, Tom.
Because the question is, how long will LeBron stay in the game?
And Tom, he's playing at a high level. It's not like his quality of play is diminishing. I mean, he can still get you 20 25 points and 10 rebounds a game. He can still average a double-double if he wanted to. Now, I have noticed that this year he's been doing a lot more passing and setting other players up. And that was always a knock against him because a lot of times he didn't trust other players around him, and very few players wanted to play with him. But he's become a much better passer. But his conditioning at this age is superb. I still say he's probably in better shape than 99% of the players in the NBA at his age. And these are young cats just coming out of school. And, lower body fat, his conditioning, his diet, the way he trains in off season, his shooting. I mean, he's extended his career just by keeping his body in perfect tip-top shape.
It's called commitment, and unfortunately, that's something that Luca didn't have, and that is the reason why I was not upset at all when the Mavericks traded Luca.
Neither me. That same year, Tom, I was not upset about it. I was hoping that we could have got more for it, but it is what it is. And so we got Flag in the end. We got Christie, who's a pretty good player. AD is gone. So, but hopefully we can rebuild and grow with our next draft pick. And like I said, if San Antonio don't know what to do with Wembley, trade him to us. We'll figure out something to do with
Now
him.
when are the NBA draft, and when do they determine who's selecting where?
I think the draft picks with the balls is coming up, and then maybe 2 weeks after that or a week after that they'll do the draft. So they'll
Right.
do the draft order with the balls.
Is it
They'll
May
have
or
some accounting.
is it May or June? Do you know?
It'll be sometime in May. So it'll
Okay.
be this month.
All right, good deal. Well, let's go ahead and move on since we've kind of gotten through our sports segment. Always something to talk about, and of course, we'll be paying a close attention to the rest of these games, Jimmy. Before we get to our more serious stories, I found something that I thought was pretty interesting and entertaining because we kind of talk about education and young people, and then of course we talk about what's going on within our community. So when I saw this one, I thought it was pretty entertaining, but unfortunate at the same time. So, but I see it as a teachable moment. And so, something that I wanted to share on our
Tom, you said it was a teachable moment. I don't see the teaching part of this when you watch the video. I was still scratching my head like, okay, what is the teachable moment? I mean, the person who's commenting makes a good point. The contrast and the difference between the white prom and the black prom. But when your mind, what's the teachable moment here?
the psychology behind what folks are doing and the decisions that are being made in our households and the impact that it has on our economics as a community. Because this is starting out in high school, but the decision is being made by parents. But it goes to show when we talk about the wealth gap in America, case in point.
Right. Okay. Well, in case people don't know what we're talking about, Tom, do you want to? Should we go ahead and cue up the video?
Let's go ahead and cue it up.
Let me see if I have it here.
Baby, I'm about to show y'all the 2026 prom. The difference between them and us is totally different, baby. They came on yellow school buses. Do you hear me? You don't see not a Bentley, not a nothing fancy out there. They came on the school bus and they went to Debs and J.C. Penney's and to Renaissance and got they stuff. They ain't got nothing made. I mean nothing. But let me show y'all something. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Baby, y'all got to stop. Y'all got to stop because y'all spend it too. Baby, what they gonna start doing? Coming out in parachutes now? Like what y'all gonna do next time for the win? And baby, we go overdo everything. We go overdo everything, baby. Bye.
So, Tom, how can we complain about the wealth gap in America when we spend and waste our money on such foolishness? I mean, I understand you want your child only graduates from high school one time, but when you're spending thousands of dollars on something that's going to be a
Literally.
few hours, is that really worth that type of investment? I mean, really, honestly.
I thought it was pretty startling, pretty eye-opening, and I apologize because I know it was kind of hard to see. It was kind of a small image or picture, so I didn't know it was going to come up that small. But what I thought was very intriguing about it, and we've talked about this before, when we talk about the economics within our communities, the Asians being the top of the food chain economically in the United States, and then of course the Black community being at the very bottom, almost
Last, Tom,
underneath ground.
in every category.
But it comes down to psychology and decision making. And when I think about this, for someone literally to spend, I don't know how much money, possibly thousands of dollars, on a high school prom, and I think about it. So is this like the pinnacle of your success in terms of where you're going to be going in life? Considering she said Bentleys, and I know that of course there are folks who Bentleys.
Tom, Bentley, Mercedes, these fancy SUVs to transport your child there. Hell, call what's the ride share company? You
Uber.
know, Lyft or
Okay.
Uber. You know, you can call them, or you can take them to the prom and drop them off yourself. You know, and then getting custom dresses made and having to get tailored suits. And the suits didn't even look that good. I'm sorry, you look like a clown. Some of them, and to say that you spent thousands of dollars on this. Now, when you these kids are starting off in lifetime, wouldn't that money be better served putting it aside to help them with a down payment on the house? They help them get into their first car to they start them off with some kind of nest egg that they can start their 401k with, so they're not starting with just zero.
Boom.
Yeah,
That part.
I mean, so that way every generation of black folks are not starting from zero. So we can't complain when I mean, my wife and I were just talking about this earlier about people who have wealth, who have privilege, and how they set their kids up and give an advantage, and how some people are disappointed about that nepotism. But I'm not. I mean, if I have the wealth, if I can do something to help set my kids up and give them an advance, I would. I will. And so we should all be trying to advance our kids in a respectable way, Tom, to help them so they're not starting over from scratch. But black kids, every generation is starting over from scratch. If you got a business idea, you got to start over, raise the money yourself. You got to raise the money for your house. You got to raise the money for your car, for your quality of life, because nothing, very little is handed down. We don't pass wealth from one generation to the next. And that needs to stop because we'll never catch up with people who pass wealth from one generation to the next, where their wealth is generational and ours is spent during our lifetime.
And I think that was the key point. And when I look at this is a spending psychology as opposed to an investment and a wealth building psychology. We talk about it quite a bit. And the reality of it is you can almost project, unfortunately, where the majority of those kids, given their household decisions, are going to be. And the reality of it, Jimmy, we've talked about this on several occasions. I want to say the average across the board net worth in a household in America, maybe a little bit over a couple hundred grand. I want to say within the white community is right around 300K. If my memory serves me correct, within the black community is right around 40K, give or take. But on average, there's almost an 8 to 10x difference in terms of the net wealth gap. I'm not talking about income. We're not talking income, but the net wealth gap in the United States. And also, Jimmy, as we talk about technology and other tools that are being used to create the wealth gap between the very rich and everybody else is nothing but widening. Young people who are coming out of the college today, I remember coming out during those alleged glorious Reagan years, and I remember a recession and how hard it was to find a job. Well, they're already talking about the fact that a lot of the jobs that young people would be pursuing in terms of internships, first jobs coming out of school, they're not going to exist. Why? Because of AI. And this is with a college degree. This is
Yes, that's true, Tom.
this is with 1 or 2 degrees. And so the reality of it is you're going to have to retool, shift, pivot, and use a completely different psychology for what we call Gen Z, or I guess the younger Gen Z, and I guess is it Gen Alpha, the ones that come behind them, Jimmy?
You're right. Gen Alpha now, the next generation.
Exactly, because it is scary in terms of the speed at which technology is taking over human, not just human labor, but human IP.
Hey, Tom, I'm gonna tell on a personal note, so I'm not gonna share too much, but you know my backstory. About a year and a half ago, I mean, I was totally bankrupt. $500,000 in debt, and things were not looking good. I mean, it was looking dismal. And I mean, my wife and I were just talking about this the other day. We saw this article that said people that 90% of Americans couldn't, if they had to, wouldn't be able to get their hands on $8,000 if they had some kind of emergency.
Repeat,
And
repeat that percentage again.
90% of Americans would not be able to get their hands on $8,000 right now. You just had $8,000 to save your life, just wouldn't be able to get your hands on it. And we were just kind of looking back on it, what we went through. And I mean, we've rebuilt, we've gotten ourselves back in shape, we've retired most of our debt, gotten out of debt. I mean, we're almost debt free now, and had to really work hard and bust butt. We lost a huge amount of income, and I mean, we were totally wiped out. Um, and to be able to rebound in about a year and a half. And so now we're looking for, like I said, I told you earlier before the show, we're gonna, make one more move, buy some property, build another house, and that's gonna be our home that our forever home we plan on dying in. But my point is that Tom, the most important skill you can have is not an education. Education is good. Most important skill you can have is learn how to invest and learn how to make money for yourself. I don't care if you're picking up cans on the side of the road on the weekends, you're doing some tutoring. Take inventory of whatever skills you have and find a way to monetize that and make extra money. The extra money you make, put it aside, pay down debt. You never know. You may lose a job. You may need that additional money and revenue coming in, and your ability to make money outside of a job, a 9 to 5, to keep you going. So, I mean, I know, Tom, you're a big property investor. And not to share too much of your details, but you've done well for yourself. But if you hadn't planned earlier in your life and made the sacrifices then, I would imagine that life would be very difficult for you right now.
I would say this much, I'm a self-proclaimed, and I remember when I was much younger, and when I was in high school, my buddies, the guys like they used to call me coupon man because I was and trying to figure out how to save a buck and how to make something cost less. And then, of course, I've had more than one people call me a little bit frugal on the side, and I'll just kind of leave it at that because my dad taught me when I was at a very young age, he say, son, as long as you are not spending every dime that you have and you put something back, you'll at least have $1 in your pocket. And it just always stuck with me. And, the reality of it is what Jimmy is talking about is correct, and it's real simple. Don't spend all the money you have, put some away, and then save enough to start investing and just be consistent and disciplined. And there are going to be some lean years, and there are going to be some days where people are going to be talking about you, but just stay consistent and stay disciplined. And at least you will always have a rainy day fund, if nothing else.
At least nothing else. So, Tom, with that being said, what's our next story? We got
All
some.
right, let's go to our stories. Wait, matter of fact, before we do that, Jimmy, I don't want to get too people on the chat line.
Okay, who do we have?
We got cousin Audrey K, who's on the line. I want to thank her.
Oh, cousin Audrey. Okay,
We've got Frederick V. Roberts, Esquire.
Esquire. Yes, lawyer in the house
We
too.
got Miss Tanya Hall, the media maven extraordinaire.
Media mogul. Yes,
Exactly.
Miss Tanya.
We got Miss Carol, who is on the line as well.
Hey, my
Exactly.
favorite fan. My number one fan.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, want to make sure that we give them a shout. We'll be checking on the chat line. So, if you have any questions, thoughts, or respondents, we'll make sure that we keep looking at the chat line here. So let's go ahead and go to our stories. We've had a couple of things that have been in the news, a lot that's been in the news, but we'll start off with, of course, anyone here. Oh, Marion Square. I'm sorry. We got
Oh, okay.
jumped on the line. Thanks for sharing. These are conversations that need to be had. I'm assuming she's talking about what we talked about in terms of economic decisions in our communities. But for those of you who've been paying attention to the news, you probably know that there have been some decisions at the highest level in the Supreme Court. The Voting Rights Act, Section 2 of that, there have been some changes that have come along that a lot of folks have been up in arms about, and we're going to take a few minutes to kind of discuss what is it that happened, why it matters, and what the implications are. And I'll lob this over to you, Jimmy, to get us started out, and we'll have a conversation.
Why don't we do this, Tom? We have a new news agent who's joined our team, James. That's my dog. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's not James
He's a,
Barker?
no, that's Dobby. He's a barker. Barks at everything. Hey, that's enough. I apologize. Anyway, let's go to James real quick, and we don't play his full news story that he submitted, but we'll play like the first minute and a half that set the
Okay.
story up for,
Okay.
and then he's gonna pose a question. Then we'll go from there.
Jigsaw puzzles and bait and switches. 4. Surprising truths behind Virginia's redistricting chaos. The map is the territory, and in Virginia, that territory is currently a legal minefield. As the Virginia Supreme Court prepares a high-stakes ruling, the Commonwealth has become the epicenter of a national struggle over who truly wields power. What is framed as a dry administrative adjustment of zip codes is, in reality, a fierce battle for political survival, where the fundamental connection between the voter and the representative is being systematically dismantled. The chaos currently gripping the state isn't just a technical glitch. It is a calculated disruption of representation and trust. For the average citizen, the shifting boundaries look less like community building and more like a tactical jigsaw puzzle designed to favor the incumbent class. This legal warfare forces a blunt, curiosity-driven question. In this hyper-partisan era, are the voters still choosing their leaders, or have the politicians successfully reverse-engineered the system to choose their voters? This is a crisis of institutional.
Okay, we're back. So I know you were talking about Virginia, but the Supreme Court case dealt with a lawsuit that was filed in Louisiana
Correct.
over a special district that was carved out. If you looked at that district, Tom, it was spaghetti all the way through the middle of the state, all the way down from Shreveport down to New Orleans, and everything in between, going through Baton Rouge, and I believe Louisiana wanted to set up a second black majority, a minority majority district is what they call it. They don't call it a black district, but a minority majority district. And then this ended up in federal court and wound its way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled that you can gerrymander for political reasons based on anything other than what's a protected class. So you can't do it by race, you can't do it by age, you can't do it by gender, you can't do it by anything that's protected federally. But politics and ideology is not a protected class. So if you want to draw about as many Republican districts or Democrat districts, okay, go at it. But you can't draw them up based on race anymore.
Gotcha. And so the question would be,
the question is, are the politicians now in charge of picking the voters, or the voters in charge of picking the politicians?
I would say neither. And when I say that, I would say those who are really feeding the politicians are the ones who are responsible for providing the media access and coverage that is allowing the politicians to get selected in order to drive the agenda for those who we don't see, who are in the elite class, who are usually ultra wealthy and who are providing millions to hundreds of millions of dollars to media advertisement. That is, there's something that I remember, God forbid, Michael Irvin saying some time ago, mass media can make an angel look like a devil and a devil look like an angel. But quite frankly, I don't know that it's either, because a politician in and of themselves are usually not going to have access to that much capital individually, with a few exceptions. And so quite frankly, it's big business and extremely wealthy donors who are making these decisions at this point. And that's what we've been seeing, and that's been coming for a very long time. And I think it's becoming a lot more obvious.
Well, we're going to lose a lot of black congressmen and black congresswomen
That's a
at the
fact.
federal level
That's a
as a
fact.
result of this.
That's
But
a
I'm not sure that's a bad thing, as the black ruling class will paint it, because the black ruling class hadn't delivered very much for black people, period. So my hope has always been that black people would split their votes between both parties and you have one party that can receive 90 to 95% of the vote, who takes it for granted, another party that believes they can't win your vote, so they don't even try. As a result, nothing gets done specifically for black people in the middle. So now, if you get rid of the minority majority districts, and the districts are now drawn by geographics and population, and you would think that geographically and population-wise, people have more in common than this in common. So a district that stretches from Shreveport to New Orleans, with Baton Rouge in the middle, I don't know if the black folks in Shreveport have the same issues as the ones in Baton Rouge, as the ones in New Orleans, but the people in Shreveport black folks there have probably something more in common with the folks in Shreveport, be it black, white, red, brown, or yellow. So, and then the other thing that's maybe a good thing, Tom, it may put both parties in a position where if the white vote is fairly evenly split, 50-40, 55-45, whatever it is, the black vote may be the difference maker for either party. So you can't take the black vote for granted anymore. You may actually have to make some promises and deliver on something to go out and capture that vote. So we may end up in a more powerful position by giving up our black majority districts and having our districts more geographically spread out than ever before.
Well, the strategy behind what you're going to accomplish, and I want to probably push back on black ruling class. I don't think there's a black ruling class. I think there are black faces that we have in.
The Al Sharptons, Tom, come on.
Yeah, but
The race hustlers out there, the Maxine Waters, you know what I'm talking about. I say the black ruling class.
okay. Well, I'm just taking the middle of what you said. There is no black ruling class in this country, and God forbid there unfortunately isn't really a black ruling class in Africa. That's a completely different story. But
Yeah, Africa is another. That's a sad story there.
it is. But all that being said is that you know having not grown up in a small town, but having gone to a small town that my relatives grew up in West Texas, and I won't say it's as large as Shreveport, but I can say it's a microcosm of Shreveport. You got the haves and the have-nots in Shreveport, just like in a little small town called Sweetwater, well, not even Sweetwater, Spur, that my parents and uncles and aunts grew up in. And the reality of it is you have a small elite ruling class who control the jobs, who controlled access to loans via the banks or whatever the case is. And so I would almost beg to differ that, depending on what demographic you're saying, that they have more in common. It depends on who that demographic is. But I would say the business class definitely has more in common with each other. But ethnically, there are going to be some divisions, so to speak, when it comes to that. But across geographies, you mentioned Shreveport, you mentioned possibly Alexandria, you mentioned New Orleans, or whatever the case is. By ethnic group, unfortunately, and or fortunately in some cases, they share a common thread of experience, not just culturally, but in terms of poverty, in terms of middle class existence, and middle class most likely to not get a business loan when they need a business loan when they have the same demographics of other groups. So with that being said, it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next year, especially during this midterm election coming up, and see where all this gerrymandering is going, because it's going all over the country, and you have one state responding to other states responding from what's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in order to grab votes.
Well, Tom, I'll give you another example using Shreveport. Shreveport, Bossier City, right next to each other. Shreveport's in one district, Bossier City's in another district. When you're riding around the Shreveport area, you notice that one of the things you notice that becomes very apparent, the quality of the streets and roads and highways in Shreveport versus Bossier City are totally different. And so this is what I'm saying is that the people in Shreveport would love to have better streets, better roads, better highways to get fixed up. But I don't know who represents them, where they're not fighting for gas tax dollars and infrastructure money to fix their district up. But if the people in Bossier City and the surrounding areas that another federal district can fight for money to keep their roads up, the folks in Shreveport may benefit from that effort, from having their representatives who go out and fight for money, infrastructure money, to fix up the geographic area as opposed to just his or her district. I mean, a lot of these districts, Tom, are falling apart. No one's really fighting for them, and their representatives are doing a horrible job because they know that whether they go out and make promises and fight to get resources for their district or not, they're going to get reelected because black folks are going to vote for black folks. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Well,
As long as I'm black and represent.
It goes both
Go ahead.
ways. It goes both ways. I mean, black folks are more likely to vote for black folks. White folks are more likely to vote for white folks.
Well, except if you look at Florida, Representative Donalds is right now still leading to become the next governor of Florida. Virginia's had a black governor and Wilder. New York just got rid of Adams. One.
The history of the state. So
Okay, Adams is just mayor of New York, a fairly white city. Jeffries comes out of New Jersey. He's a senator. I'm sure the state of New Jersey, majority white. So it's not like black folks can't get elected
They can.
representing white areas, and it's not like white folks not going to vote for black people. I think in the end, it's going to come down to whether you have ideas, policies that are going to people believe in and believe you're going to go work for them. And if you're not going to work for them, then you need a guaranteed carve out to stay elected because you're not doing anything. But if you actually are put in a position where you have to make some promises and work hard, if you get elected to keep that constituent behind you, like I said, time will tell whether this is a good move or not. I think in the end, it's going to be a good move.
Yeah, we will definitely see. We'll see how it plays out. The reality of it is, even though there are there was a probably several books that kind of talk to this subject. Your color not your kind, so to speak. And that's when we talk about some international issues, you may have someone who is a head of state of a country, or let's say a state in this case, or even a county, but that doesn't mean that they're particularly, to your point, representing your native constituency. They may be
That's true.
other constituencies that have no concern for your needs whatsoever, even though they may look like you. And so
And a lot of times that comes down to money, Tom. Who's writing the checks?
and if you got to go kiss the ring, if you don't have the political leverage, you're gonna have to go kiss the ring, and you're gonna have to, as one of my friends, bend over for the wrong person, and somebody ends up getting screwed.
Yeah. Anyway, Tom, let's go on. This is an interesting story I sent you. I want to get your thoughts on what's happening over there in Kentucky.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, I thought that was pretty. So it's on the surface level, it looks like the divorce rate has dropped dramatically in the state over a very short period of time. Interestingly enough, but I mean, from doing a little bit more research, Jimmy, and I'll let you kind of speak a little bit more to that. It has to do with how they're accounting and who they're including in that divorce rate. But on the surface, it looks pretty interesting in terms of what you see on paper in terms of divorce rate. But as it turns out, that's not to say that marriages are all of a sudden getting a new face in the state of Kentucky.
Tom, this is very interesting because what they did was they adopted what they call a 50-50, they call it a 50-50 something going into a divorce. And it doesn't assume that the woman is going to get child support or alimony or vice versa. They start off with 50-50, and they try to split child support and child parenting between two parents. So if one parent has a child for Monday through Friday for school, the other parent will get every weekend. Not every other weekend, every weekend, and then most of the holidays in order to even the days out. So pretty much it's an even split when it comes to school tuitions, clothes, supplies, medical care. If the time is split between parents on the children, then all the costs for the children have to be split also. So the end effect, the net result of it is that you don't end up with any child support. There's nothing to collect, there's nothing to pay because both parents are equally liable for the children at that point. And it's only if things work out for one parent where one parent has a little bit more biting off a little bit more responsibility, a little bit more time, do they get anything? And they have a formula for how they calculate. So, and one example is like one father is paying, $1,200 a month child support for his children, and by the end, when they all did the math after the new rule, he ended up paying about $200 a month for child support, and the care of the children was equally split between him and the ex-wife. But on top of that, she had become accustomed to the child support and spousal support that she was getting from her husband to maintain her lifestyle. I guess she didn't work. And now you're faced with no job. I think she was getting a little over $2,000 in spousal support. No job, no spousal support, no child support, and only getting $20 a month coming in from your ex-husband now for you and your two children. And I mean, and what they found was overnight, Tom, the divorce rate from women, I guess, figuring that there's no money in cashing out anymore, but filing for divorce and getting spousal support or child support. Since there's no money in that anymore, those rates just fell off the table, Tom.
Now,
Dropped 25% overnight.
When did this change go into effect, Jimmy?
2018, actually. So
Oh,
it's been around for a little bit. It was under the radar, but the reason I saw it was because um, 8 other states adopted the Kentucky rule. So Kentucky was the first state to adopt it. 8 other states adopted it, and now 20 other states have it on their agenda where they're looking at implementing a similar rule because it really gets the state out of the child support collection business, hunt down deadbeat dads, and having to, they'll still have the apparatus and infrastructure in place, but it'll be scaled down severely if you go to a 50-50, start off with 50-50 split between the parents. So the only way the father is on the hook for anything is he has to be a total deadbeat who spends no time with his child.
but
And
how
at
does
that case, you got to pay.
but
Huh?
how does the court measure and monitor that?
Well, they monitor is that when you come to court to get your divorce or to split up or to ask for child support, the courts order the time with the children to be split between the parents. Like I said, you have about 180 school days in the school year, and with weekend and holidays, that's 104 days right there, plus some holidays. So the non-custodial parent can get almost not if you can't get totally half, you can get almost half, 150, 160 days, where the custodial parent may get 180, 200 days. But anyway, they base it on that, on what who pays what for the total care of the child is based on the number of days you have the child. So the more days you get, the less you have to pay to the other person. Whoever has the most will receive from the other person who has the least. So it's all mathematically based on how many days you have your children, how much time you spend in raising them, and with everything being equal, if you split 180 days down the middle, a year, 165 days into 182 days and a quarter, right down the middle, then there's no child support, there's no spousal support because everything is just equal at that point. The mother
Even
pays half, the father pays half.
even if you had one parent who was the primary breadwinner while the other one was more of the child caretaker.
Go out and get a job, Tom.
That
Hold on to your breadwinner.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds pretty interesting. Because let's say you have a husband or a wife, I mean a wife or a husband for that matter, let's just call it a spouse, who decides that they're going to be a full-time mom or a full-time dad, taking care of the kid, enabling the other to work longer hours, build their business, and do whatever the case is, and then for whatever happens, things go south. And that can be pretty onerous if you've been out of the market, 1 or a couple of years, much less, 10 years.
Well, Tom, I mean, community property still exists. So if you had a house together, the wife would still get half the house. Somebody would have to buy the other person out if that's the case. But it's not if the wife got the house, then generally courts would award the woman the house and the kids, and then make you pay spousal support, pay for the house, pay child support to maintain them. That is what's going away now. So you can get the house, and you can pay for half the care of the kids, and you can pay for the house if you want to keep it. Or you can buy him out, or he could buy you out, however y'all want, or sell the house and split the proceeds. But they're just making it where divorce doesn't pay, so women can get married, have a couple of kids, decide. And that's going to be the next story that we're going to come to if we have time, Tom, to talk about women who bury these men who are betas, who are weak, feckless, don't know how to stand up for themselves, codependent.
Okay, you're gonna probably have to give me the update on that one because I couldn't find that story. We got about 6 minutes left, so we can cover that in the last.
Let me. We may have to. I'm trying. I guess I didn't upload the video, but you may have seen the story. So I'll play the video next week, but I'll give you the story set up today, and we can talk about it maybe in depth next week. So there's his father who gets married to a woman. She has a young child, 1 year old, who's and he's married. He raised the little girl as his own, and she turns 18 years old, and she's ready to graduate. And at this time, her biological dad decides to come back into the picture. Now, the dad had bought tickets. He didn't pay for the gown. I mean, we saw how black folks do for the prom. He's done all that. He's put the money out. He's paid for it. He's raised her. He's paid the bills, maintained her. And she decides, because she only has 2 tickets for the prom, she decides to uninvite the stepdad and give her a ticket to the dad, the biological dad who hadn't been around for 18 years. And he's complaining. He called the wife up because the daughter says mom knew about this and she's the one who recommended it. So he calls his wife up and he's asking her, why did you put this into, at first he said our daughter, and then he said your daughter's head. And she said, well, she's trying to reestablish a relationship with her biological dad. I didn't see anything wrong with that. And yeah, I told her to talk to you and I'll invite you and give that ticket to the dad. And then the next conversation, the mother is having with the daughter, and she's telling the daughter, don't worry about it. He'll get over it. It'll blow over. Give it a month or so, and y'all relationship will be back to where it was. And Tom, I thought the whole video was interesting because that's the life of a beta. Women marry these men. They're good men. They're not bad men. They work. They pay their bills. They make good, decent fathers. But they're weak. They have no leadership. And women do not love them. Women do not respect them. Women do not value them overall. And what ends up happening is she has taught her daughter to disrespect the man who maintained her and been the only father figure in her life for 18 years. Who in their right mind would do something unscrupulous? Who would do something this despicable? So the mama has taught her daughter to be disrespectful to a stepdad who loved you like a child, his own child, and raised you for 18 years, paid for your prom, for you to uninvite him and go give it to your deadbeat biological dad and invite him. See, that's a life of a beta, Tom.
So what you're saying is it's his fault that his daughter did that?
It's his fault that he's a beta, yes. But
it was the daughter's decision.
Coaxed by the mother to do it, yes.
How does that make him a beta or anything else because of his?
That makes him weak, Tom, because that lets me know that the wife has been stepping over him and stepping on him and pushing him aside for most of their marriage.
We can't say that for sure.
I can't, Tom, because I used to be a beta. That's why I'm not married to my first wife. Same thing. I know what the life of a beta is because I was a beta. It's not until you stop being a beta, stand up for yourself, gain some respect, become a leader in your household. That's what women respect. That's what they value. That's what they want deep down. They marry these betas because they're safe. They can have their way. Like I have a sister-in-law when I was married before, previous, who her husband gave her everything she wanted. She made all the decisions she drew, and she thought it was great for the first couple of years. But then after about 4 years' time, she was absolutely sick of this man. She could not stand that she couldn't get him to make one decision, even like where you want to go eat. They got to go back and forth. It's like, okay, whatever you want, you just pick a place. No, you pick something. Then back and forth for 20 minutes before she's so frustrated she doesn't want to go eat anymore. But that's the life of a beta, Tom. Women do not like betas. They marry them because they're safe. They have children for them because they work and pay bills. But in the end, they would cheat on you and divorce you in 7 years because deep down, they don't want weak, soft men. They don't. That's why 65% of them are divorced after 7 years. That's why I don't pay to marry a college-educated woman. 65% of college-educated women who are married right after college, who marry these betas, are divorced in 7 years for a reason. They don't want them, Tom. The other 35% that don't get divorced, like this woman, she wished, like Chris Rock would say, every night she goes to bed, wish she could put a pillow over his head and suffocate him without going. If Johnny Cocker was still living and she had the money to hire him, she would do that and take her chance in criminal court rather than stay married to this man.
If the love don't fit, you must have quit.
If it don't fit, Tom, you must have quit. That's right. Johnny's not around anymore, but if she can bring him back from the dead and figure out a way to go to court and get away with this, yeah, she would have stuffed him out while he slept.
All right.
My point is, we could talk about that next show, Tom. I'm just saying it doesn't pay to be a beta.
All right, good deal. Well,
that's why the good guys finish last in these relationships.
Okay, so we are right at the top of the hour. We want to thank everyone for joining us this evening, and we hope that you have enjoyed this episode of the show. We got a couple of comments that we have on here.
Okay, we got to go through the comments before we close the show out, Tom.
Cousin Audrey K. Voters should have a choice to pick their rep that aligns with their interests and shouldn't assume a black demographic of voters will vote for them just because they are black reps. I would agree with that. And then Marion, put the eyeballs out like, and then you're absolutely correct, Jimmy. We don't know about what specifically, but you said you were correct around something. So we want to thank everybody for participating and joining in the show. We, of course, will be back next week with another thought-provoking show, Jimmy, because, of course, if it's Wednesday night,
It's Black Man Speak.
good night, everyone. Thank you.